How was it? Stories about famous people who changed the world. Abraham Lincoln, the man who freed a nation. He was born in a one-room log cabin in the middle of the American wilderness, poor, uneducated, and barefoot. Yet he would rise to become one of the greatest leaders the world has ever known. His name was Abraham Lincoln, and this is the story of how a humble man changed the course of history. Abraham Lincoln was born on February 12, 1809 in Kentucky, to a poor farming family. Life was harsh. His mother died when he was only 9, and his father was strict and distant. But from an early age, Abraham had one thing that set him apart: an unshakable thirst for knowledge. Books were rare on the frontier, so young Abe would walk for miles to borrow them. He read everything he could find: the Bible, Shakespeare, history, and law. He once said, "My best friend is a person who will give me a book I have not read." Through hard work and relentless curiosity, Lincoln taught himself to read, write, and think like a leader. He began working as a rail splitter, then a shopkeeper, and later studied to become a lawyer. He built his career not through wealth or family connections, but through honesty, intelligence, and the power of words. Lincoln had a gift for speaking, not with fancy language, but with sincerity. When he talked, people listened. He believed that truth and kindness could change hearts more than anger or violence ever could. By the 1850s, the United States was deeply divided. The southern states depended on slavery, while the North was moving toward freedom and industry. Lincoln spoke out against slavery, calling it morally wrong and incompatible with the ideals of the nation's founders. In 1860, he was elected the 16th President of the United States. But his election ignited a storm. The southern states refused to accept him and seceded from the Union, forming the Confederacy. The result was the American Civil War, a brutal conflict that would take more American lives than any other. Lincoln's goal was not revenge or destruction. He wanted to save the Union, to keep America together. He once said, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." As the war dragged on, Lincoln faced enormous pressure, but in 1863 he made a decision that would define his place in history. He signed the Emancipation Proclamation, declaring that all enslaved people in the Confederate States were free. It was a bold and dangerous move, but it turned the war into something greater than politics. It became a fight for human freedom. Lincoln's leadership was not only political, it was deeply moral. He often visited hospitals, spoke with soldiers, and wrote letters of compassion to grieving families. He once said, "Do I not destroy my enemies when I make them my friends?" Finally, after 4 years of bloodshed, the Civil War ended in 1865. The Union was saved and slavery was abolished. America had been torn apart, but thanks to Lincoln's courage and vision, it could begin to heal. Just days after the victory, tragedy struck. On April 14, 1865, while attending a play at Ford's Theater, Abraham Lincoln was shot by an assassin. He died the next morning at just 56 years old. But his legacy lived on. He became a symbol of freedom, equality, and perseverance. His words, "Government of the people, by the people, for the people," still define democracy today. The Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. stands as a tribute to his memory, and his face appears on the penny and the $5 bill, everyday reminders of the man who gave everything for his country. Abraham Lincoln proved that greatness doesn't come from privilege, but from character, compassion, and courage. He rose from nothing, spoke for those without a voice, and united a broken nation. He was, and remains, the man who freed a nation. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.